These are members of our office, members of the district attorney's office that feel strongly about this issue. I invited them to be here if they felt that strongly about it. I authorized them time to be here, and you can see behind me the number of people here that are voicing their outrage. The Dobbs decision was handed down today by the Supreme Court, and it is a blow indeed to women and to public safety. It will set us back for decades. But I'm here to promise my constituents I will never stop fighting to protect the health and safety of women and all those who are members of other vulnerable groups, our LGBTQ plus community, for example, who are afraid that their rights will be next. I'm here for you, and I'm here to fight for you. This decision indeed will set us back. It will exacerbate existing inequalities in our country, and tonight millions of Americans will go to sleep afraid of what the future will hold for their right to choose, to love, and to marry without government interference. As your district attorney, my job more than anything is to protect the health and the safety of this community. This decision will have an opposite effect. As a result of this decision, some estimate that at least half of the states in our country will ban or heavily restrict abortions. Many women will have to travel hundreds or even thousands of miles to get this crucial care. But most women who need abortions will not be able to do that. 75% of the women who have abortions are low income, and nearly half of them live below the poverty line. Rather than stopping abortions, we know what this means is that many women will simply end their pregnancies without proper medical care and oversight, that it will have enormous effect on women's health. Almost all of us have heard stories or have family members or friends that know about a woman so desperate that she had to rely on a coat hanger or a knitting needle. The results were catastrophic. People have died. We should not be returning to the past. But we are here. This decision will also have legal ramifications beyond the right to abortion. As I mentioned, members of our LGBTQ plus community are justifiably terrified that fundamental rights to their right to love and marry are next, given the court's reasoning. At a time like this, it is critical that elected leaders remind people that we are here for you. We are here to protect you, and we are here to fight for you. As your district attorney, my office deals every day with the people that you see here behind me, with the terrible ramifications that inequality and unequal access to resources has on the safety of our community. Today, as we come to grips with this devastating blow, I want to reassure any person within my jurisdiction who is fearful of how this decision will affect their life that I will continue to fight for the rights of everyone, including women and our LGBTQ plus residents, and I will do everything in my power to avoid tragedy and preventable harm in our community. Personal health care decisions should not be punished. The right to marry should not be punished. At a time when crime is high, we all should be focused on gun violence and on supporting victims of crime. Instead, the government wants to do the opposite and focus on those at their most vulnerable. This is unacceptable, and I promise to keep fighting for the women in this county. You know, I took an oath when I was sworn in, and that oath was not to prosecute, but to seek justice. There is no justice in prosecuting women for exercising their own personal choices. There is no justice in prosecuting those of the medical care community that are there to support and assist women in their most difficult time in making this sort of decision. And because of that, I ensure these groups that I'm going to do everything in my power to protect their personal choices. Thank you very much for coming down. We'll take questions in a minute, but we had some partners that were planning on being here. Do we have anybody here from Buckle Bunnies? Would you please step up? Would you like to say anything?
Thank you
Please
so much.
identify your name and the organization that you're with.
Yes, I have a statement that I would like to read. Good afternoon. Thank you, District Attorney Gonzales, for asking us to be here today. I'm Michaela Montoya Frazier, a sixth-generation San Antonioan and the co-executive director and founder of Buckle Bunnies Fund. We are an organization that assists people across Texas who are struggling to access reproductive health care, specifically abortion, due to intentional place barriers by the state. We wish we were meeting all of you under better circumstances. Obviously, today is a very heavy and difficult day for all of us in the abortion world, and then everybody on the outside, seeing the catastrophic damage that this will have in our community as well. Texas has been home to devastating anti-abortion legislation, most recently SB 8, which has prevented people over 6 weeks of pregnancy from accessing in-clinic care. This has not stopped Texans from accessing abortion care. San Antonio locally has been home to anti-abortion legislation. The 2018 closing of abortion clinic Whole Woman's Health had devastating impacts, disproportionately impacting low-income San Antonians, and that did not stop San Antonians from accessing abortion care either. We are tired of our stories being ones of resilience. We know we can get through it all, but why should we have to? Sister Song, a Black Southern feminist organization, defines reproductive justice as the human right to maintain personally bodily autonomy, have children, not have children, and parent the children that we do have in safe and sustainable communities. In a perfect world, these would also be the values of our government leaders, but time and time again, it's proven that community care seems to come last. When there's people being evicted from their homes, dying from diseases they are too poor to manage, being shot by police for simply running, we will not know reproductive justice. It is not enough to support us from the outside. We need real, tangible change. San Antonio has seen thousands of illegal abortions since Roe. I have had an illegal abortion myself in San Antonio. People are being left behind, and they will fall farther behind with the decision today. Self-managed abortion with pills is safe and available by mail. More information can be seen on plancpills.org. At the end of the day, when we are coming down from this, please remember that everybody loves somebody who's had abortions. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming down. Does anybody else, would you say anything?
So questions?
Yes.
So how do you see the trigger law that Texas has in place? Can you tell us your interpretation of that law?
Well, basically the trigger law will take an effect in 30 days, and in 30 days from today, it will be illegal to have an abortion in Texas, and it will be illegal for anybody to assist in an abortion in Texas. So, if cases are filed in our office, we're going to have to review them and make those tough decisions. But again, as I've said before, my obligation, my oath to the citizens of Bexar County is to seek justice. I just do not see the justice in prosecuting somebody for making such a decision that's so personal to them. I don't see the justice in prosecuting agencies and medical care providers that provide that assistance.
Are you saying that you may prosecute these cases?
Well, what I'm saying is absent aggravating circumstances, my plan is to review each case and make that decision on a case-by-case basis. But I'm here to say that, again, that my obligation is to seek justice. I do not believe that there's any justice in prosecuting these cases.
But you're not pledging to not prosecute.
At this point, I am pledging not to plan to prosecute them. But every prosecutor has an obligation to comply with the law. I certainly will comply with the law, but my intent is to support women in their very personal decisions.
Is your office concerned that there may be ramifications for not prosecuting these cases?
Well, I mean, we'll get there. We'll deal with that when we get there. I know what my obligation is as the elected district attorney in this county. I was elected by the citizens of Bexar County. They entrusted me with prosecutorial discretion. I'm going to exercise that discretion, and only time will tell whether or not the citizens of Bexar County believe that I'm doing the right thing.
But if there's a case that comes to you that looks like a doctor helped perform an illegal abortion in Texas, and there would be an expectation that you would prosecute that and you refuse to, then you could face severe sanctions, including removal from office from the state of Texas, correct?
Well, certainly that's a possibility, but again, remember what I'm saying, instead of just a flat refusal, that I'm going to exercise my discretion. And absent an extreme circumstance, my position is a plan not to go forward with those kinds of prosecutions.
Do you see other district attorneys across Texas sharing that view?
Oh yes, there definitely have already been other prosecutors in Texas that have indicated that they have the same position that I have. For example, I know the prosecutor in Travis County, I believe others, Galveston County, and I believe even Dallas County and Fort Bend County have all indicated that they don't plan to engage in this kind of prosecution.
You mentioned extreme circumstances. What are you referring to?
Well, for example, I mean, I can envision a situation. I mean, this sort of procedure should be consensual. It should be undertaken by someone who wants to have this procedure. But I can certainly envision a situation where someone is forced to undergo an abortion that doesn't want to have an abortion. Let's say, hypothetically, a 17-year-old young lady who is forced by her parents to do this under duress. That certainly, in my mind, is an extreme circumstance. But short of that, if someone is voluntarily seeking out this treatment, they ought not to be worried about being prosecuted. So,
how do you anticipate these cases being brought to your office? Will they be through SAPD, through complaints from citizens, or what will that look like?
They still have to be investigated by law enforcement. We're an agency that does not initiate investigations, so we have to rely on law enforcement investigating a case and bringing it to our office. I suspect that this would be no different. So members of the law enforcement community in this county would have to receive a complaint, would have to investigate, and would have to file a case with us before we could make any decision about what to do with a case like that.
Have you been in touch with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office or SAPD?
I have not. You've got to remember, this decision was just released this morning, so it's brand new to everybody. Nobody has had a chance to let it sink in. I imagine if you reach out to them, they may tell you what their position is, but I have not talked to anybody in law enforcement.
So let me ask you to change your shoes from the patent leather lawyer shoes into the running shoes of a political candidate. How do you see this? Because you're running for re-election, how does this issue enter the political realm for your race and others?
Well, I mean, it's very consistent with what I believe as a progressive prosecutor. It's very consistent with what I have brought into this office, which is criminal justice reform, and it's very consistent with my belief in protecting the rights of individuals, the rights of the LGBTQ plus community, the rights of women. So that's, again, very, very consistent with, and I believe it's consistent with the Democratic Party platform. So I believe I'm going to have the support of my local party and every elected leader that thinks just like I do. Anybody else?
Can we do it in Spanish?
Sure.
Gracias.
Let me get
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Estamos con Joe Gonzales, fiscal de distrito en el condado de Bexar, con una declaración importante con respecto al derecho a la vida y el aborto que se hizo esta mañana a nivel federal. Usted decía que estaba en apoyo a lo que es el derecho a decidir. ¿Qué opina ahora?
Así es, lo que vamos a hacer es primeramente la decisión es una horrible, ¿verdad? Y nosotros no vamos, lo que vamos a hacer es revisar cualquier caso que nos traigan a nuestra oficina, pero mi obligación como fiscal electivo es hacer justicia, y yo no creo, mi opinión es que no es justicia proceder en contra de una mujer que haya hecho este tipo de decisión. Así que eso es lo que estoy diciendo, que para hoy esa es la posición de nuestra oficina y de mí.
En pocas palabras, no va a perseguir a una mujer que decida abortar.
Así es, correcto.
¿Esto no va en contra de leyes federales?
Pues nosotros manejamos leyes estatales, no manejamos esos tipos de leyes federales, es otra oficina.
¿Se va a meter en problemas?
¿Quién?
¿Usted?
Yo no creo que, pues vamos a ver.
¿Qué opinan las autoridades en el condado de Béjar, la policía, el sheriff?
No hemos hablado sobre este tema.
Ok, entonces usted está en pie de apoyar a la mujer que decida abortar.
Correcto.
Muy bien, bueno, pues cualquier cambio, cualquier decisión, cualquier cosa que ocurra, estamos a sus órdenes.
Muchas
¿Algo
gracias.
más que quiera agregar?
Es todo para hoy.
Muchas gracias.
Pues quiero decir que estamos aquí para apoyar las mujeres de este condado y que les quiero asegurar que vamos a hacer todo para protegerlas a ellas.
Bueno, estamos hablando de una decisión que se tomó esta mañana. Es muy precipitado pedirle a usted ya un plan de trabajo y de acción.
Correcto, porque no hemos recibido ni cualquier hecho de los oficiales, pero vamos a esperar hasta que lleguemos a ese momento.
Univisión es un foro abierto para cualquier cosa que tenga que informar. Muchas gracias. Y nosotros regresamos al estudio y estamos obviamente al pendiente de todo lo que ocurra con respecto a este tema. Gracias.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Oiga, entrevistas en vivo en la mañana, ¿usted nos las acepta?
Claro que
¿Vía
sí.
Zoom?
Claro que
¿Y
sí.
dónde le podemos hablar?
Nada más con Nicole
Ajá.
de mi oficina.
¿A las 6:30 está bien?
6:30.
Sí.
Hijo,
Bueno, mi noticiero es de 5 a 7. 6:30 sería la... Bueno, en un momento dado.
Ok, pues nomás que me dé un aviso un día antes.
Desde su casa puede ser en Zoom.
Ok, está bien.
Con eso, 6:45.
Ok,
Le agradezco mucho.
ok.
Gracias.
Okay, any other questions? All right, well, thank you all for coming down.
We got one more question.
Who's coming over here? Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering how will this impact minors who are seeking judicial bypass, who are trying to get an abortion, but their parents, they don't want their parents to know. So what are the implications?
Well, again, remember,